Well, good evening and welcome to the Resilient Living Podcast. I am Jared Wilson, the one of the hosts of the Resilient Living Podcast, along with Ryan Steva.
Hey, everybody.
All right. Well, while we're waiting for people to trickle on in, thank you for all who have joined us. I have a product. I know you're shocked.
Yes. I love the product. I love seeing what you brought.
So one of the manufacturers that I carry in the shop is Red Rock backpacks. Boy, you can barely see this. There's not enough light in here. Okay, so suffice it to say, it's a backpack. Get a good backpack. Like I get people come in all the time. They're like, "Oh yeah, I've got a bug out bag," and they'll bring out, a garbage bag or something like. Which, if it works, it works. But if it can be comfortable, get something comfortable. If it can be compartmentalized, where you can separate different sections out, do it. I you don't want to have the whole tactical thing where it's got all the molly all over it, and it's like, but it does serve its purpose. Like I can attach a lot of stuff to this if I need to, but I don't have to. So it can be really slick and clean, or I can tack on things as necessary. And so yeah, Red Rock tactical backpacks, they're really good. Yeah, those ones. The Red Rock day pack is fantastic. The Rock large assault, that's the one I've got in my hand.
That's right here.
Yep. Just good, solid backpacks, really nice, thick shoulder pads, multiple compartments, having the ability to cinch everything down and compress it so that you're not, hanging way out, and have it be loose and bouncing all over the place is really important when you're rucking over rough terrain. So get a good backpack. If you don't have a good backpack, come by the shop and I'll get you a good backpack and help you fill it up.
It looks like it's got a lot of auxiliary options and things.
It does. Internally, yeah, there's all kinds of little compartments so you can have your knickknacks and whatever. And I have ones that aren't so all tactical and are more slick and more traditional as well. The Metro Sling Pack is a great one. If you are a concealed carry and you maybe you can't carry on body, the Metro Sling Pack is a really good one for off body carry because it actually has a CCW pouch in the back that is not part of the normal zipper compartments. It is its own. So there's an option for you, and I can get anything. So yeah, there's a lot of good options there for a backpack.
Yeah, I bet if it's not in the shop, you can probably order it, right?
Exactly. And I do.
Awesome. I'm going to unshare the screen here, however you do that.
Here's
there we go.
Vic, I hear assault backpacks are being banned. I know they're scary. They're too scary. We can't have this. Oh, goodness sakes. That's terrifying. In California, that's probably true. Like, no.
They have the wrong kind of handle on them.
Right. Oh, and they're black. So,
Yeah.
All right. Well, while people are fairly, starting to trickle in here, kind of want to just do a real fast overview of what we covered last time. And then we'll dive into, deeper into the latter part that we didn't get to. Basically, natural disasters and man-made disasters. Those are two things that we're preparing for. Natural disasters are natural things. So flooding, storms, earthquakes, wildfires, lightning storms, that kind of stuff where, we don't have control over it. We didn't cause it. It just happens. Stuff happens. Be prepared for it. Have some, stuff on your person, in your vehicle, at home to be able to mitigate some of the risks associated with natural disasters. Just do that. The next one is man-made and infrastructure. So that's going to be your power outages. Then that can be as extreme as like grid failure. Could be fuel shortages or water system problems. So like boil notices and things like that. Cyber attacks, communication outages. We've seen like whole cellular networks go down for extended periods of time. Having a alternate form of communication is good. Have a communication plan with your loved ones. If you commute, having some way of getting a hold of them that is not your standard communication is important. Having maybe, hey, if we can't communicate, we're going to have a place that we know that we will be at a certain time or something. Just come up with a plan, communicate it with your loved ones. Yeah. So we kind of dove into, yeah, location-based preparedness. So like at your house, the kinds of things that you can do to mitigate, um, to prepare for those types of events. Go back and rewatch that, if you want more information. Everyday carry, just stuff to have on your person, just to have. I mean, every guy should have a pocket knife. So, what else? What else should you have on your person? Maybe, a firearm, maybe a pry bar. Ryan, you're going to have unique tools that are that you would
Oh,
carry.
yeah.
Maybe I don't.
Yeah. I mean, a lighter and blowtorch are something that most people probably wanna carry, but I do.
Right?
Uh, you know, I tend to have, individual buckets of various things. So, like, my electrical,
Sure.
repair and install kit, or, all of my power tools I always have with me. So,
Yeah.
um,
And so those are
I
like in buckets in your vehicle.
mhm. Yep. So they're EDC on my vehicle, not necessarily on my person.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, simple things like making sure that every time I'm gone, I've got a socket set with an adapter from my impact driver. So if I need
Right.
to change out a tire or,
Yes.
whatever, I've got those tools with me. So yeah.
Absolutely. And that is like, so you've got your buckets. That's a
Mhm.
scaled system above your, personal EDC into your vehicle borne EDC, and that extends into your house. You have even more tools at your disposal at your home to be able to
Mhm.
handle even more issues. One thing that I see and I try to get people to reevaluate is the over preparedness,
Mhm.
where they'll carry literally everything, including the kitchen sink. Um, it's no fun to ruck with 100 pounds on your back. If you don't have to, don't. Um, Learning how to survive with less is best. Um, Learning to use what you have at your disposal is great. I mean, like, yeah, there's a lot of little idioms there that we could spend days going into. But yeah, situational awareness, seasonal gear, dressing in layers, stuff like that. Just yeah, those are
Situational awareness, that's an interesting one for, EDC, because
yes,
in one sense it is. You're
yes,
like, you need to be aware of what's going on. I mean, I like to listen to podcasts, but if I'm filling my gas tank, I at least take
yeah,
one ear out. I
right,
usually do that anyways so I can hear and, less garbage right against my head, but, um
sure.
yeah, being able to just know that I can hear something if I need to and
Oh yeah,
not
it's
being
good.
distracted.
It's good practice. When you're driving, you're aware of where the vehicles are around you. Well,
Mhm,
when you're in a restaurant, you should be aware of where the exits are around you. You should be aware of the people that are around you, the types of people that are around. Like, not to make judgments against them, but it's like that boy that just walked in. He's 6'7", 300 pounds, and he can handle himself. I can see it. Like, that's gonna be my best friend or my worst enemy. I just want to
right.
know where he is. I want to know what's going on because if something were to go down, maybe I need to help him. Maybe I need his help. Um, just situational awareness. It's useful. It's
Yeah.
good. Um, so yeah, that's yeah, everyday carry, personal readiness, self defense. I'm going to be doing speaking of self defense, I'm going to be doing a class 21st, 21st next month, for women, who want to know more about firearms and firearm safety. Maybe you're super familiar with them, maybe not. Maybe you want to become more comfortable and confident with or in and around guns. It's going to be totally chill. Nothing wrong with reading the room. Thank you, bro. Um, it's gonna be totally chill, no ammunition. It's just gonna be, getting women specifically familiar with and comfortable with firearms. I've got another guy. He's a NRA pistol trainer. He and I are gonna co-host a class at the American Legion in Spencer. So for any of you locals, tell your wives, girlfriends, grandmas, daughters, whomever, um, and I'll be posting it out on Facebook here shortly.
And if you're nervous to learn around your husband or boyfriend,
And that
it'll
is
be a great class because
exactly, because yeah,
it
having that
excludes them.
yes, you wanna separate away from it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you should know that." No, it's okay to not know that. It's okay to not know how to load a magazine. It's okay to not know how to drop the cylinder on a revolver. It's okay. It's like I said, it's gonna be totally chill. It'll be, I think, 4 hours. So we're gonna just take our time, go through all of the different types of firearms, and answer questions. So, and there's no such thing as a stupid question because I want everyone to be as comfortable and confident with all different platforms as they possibly can. So there you go.
Cool. I've got a class to announce at the end too, or a
Oh,
workshop, but we'll get there.
okay,
Not
cool.
needed right now.
No, that's good. Okay. So that got us through everything through everyday carry. Cool. All right. So medical. Okay. So my background is medical. So medical is really important to me. Having the knowledge, having the experience, and having the equipment to be able to render medical aid, I think, and statistics show, is incredibly important. You're 10 times more likely to render medical aid than to draw a firearm in a conflict. Um, Even if you had to draw your firearm, you then need to render medical aid, if for nothing else that looks better for the jury.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and nobody actually wants to, you know,
no,
end someone's life.
no,
Like we don't want that.
no.
So as much as people like to, you know, I think point the finger, that's nobody actually wants that.
I
We
want to
want
stop a
everybody to
threat.
come out. Yeah, we want everybody to come out alive if possible.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. I will stop the threat. I will then assist the threat in making sure that they survive.
Mhm.
Because you're right. I don't want anyone to meet their maker or anything stupid like, no, that's not the point. No,
Yep.
absolutely. So yeah. Um, so, we've done a CPR class. Stop the bleed is a good class to go through. Red Cross does classes. Your employer might even offer a class or be willing to pay for a class. That's one of those things that is, I cannot stress enough, is getting trained in rendering medical aid. I sell, some several books on medical, and they don't sell well. And it's one of those things. I watch the people, and they'll look at that, and you can see that. I don't even want to think about that. I
Mhm.
don't want to think about having to do that or use that information.
It's a life insurance phenomenon,
But it's,
right?
you have the Good Samaritan clause. I mean, it's there. It's
Mhm.
You're not going to get held accountable, but you have the mental, like, what if they don't make it? What if they do? I
Yeah.
had, that semi that T-boned the Dodge Durango right in front of the shop. There's several children that are currently walking this earth because Hansel Moore and I and another friend of mine were there, and we rendered medical aid because there was nobody else there. We were there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, besides being very unlucky to be hit by a truck, there's they couldn't have been in a better spot.
Yeah. No, it was a God thing. Like,
Mhm.
Hansel shouldn't have been there. And I mean, bro's been, a nurse for 30 something years, and he just happened to be by the shop, and, we hear, boom. Like, oh man. So I just grabbed everything we had on the shelf and we ran. And,
Mhm.
I'm in shorts and a, button down shirt, and I'm like trying to rip a door off a Durango. Got the kids out. I mean,
Yeah.
so yeah, get comfortable with being uncomfortable was the other one that I had was, um, rendering medical aid is never, it's never sexy. It's never pretty. When they need you, they need you. It's
Mhm.
never a good day for it. It's always the worst day.
Yeah.
Um, but it's sometimes it's life and death. So wouldn't you rather be an asset versus being a liability?
Yeah. So when are you gonna do, like, tourniquet,
So
use and stop the bleed classes?
I'm handing that one off to Silas Gold,
Mhm.
580 Tactical. Go hit up 580tactical.com if you're in the Middle Tennessee area. Silas is the dude. Take his trauma class. You'll come out with a individual first aid kit and the experience and education on how to use every bit of it. He'll feed you farm to table meals. It's a half or whole day thing, like scenario based, like you're extracting people from vehicles, applying tourniquets, doing all the stuff. Um, Go to yeah.
I
I
just
have
got to
some
meet Silas.
experience. Oh, did you?
Yeah, I just got to meet him on Saturday. He came to my class at the library.
Right on. That's
Good guy.
awesome. He
Yeah.
is. He's a really cool guy.
He's special ops of some sort, wasn't he?
He did some spicy stuff from what I've
Yeah.
heard, and he was in for 30 30 years. I don't know. So he's been in
Wow.
long. Bro is just ripped. Like, yeah, he does some really cool firearms training where he'll basically take you through a full workout, get your heart rate just super elevated, and now you have to go make a decision on whether it's a good shoot or not. You have to take the shot with elevated heart rate. Like, he does some really good stuff. He's got a full shoot house that he's built out at his place. He's got some really cool stuff. So yeah, hit 580tactical.com.
Cool.
He's the dude
Yeah.
for sure. Okay, where did I leave off? I was in medical, wasn't I? Yes, I was in medical.
Yes. Yeah, we're dealing with like stop the bleed type stuff.
Yeah.
Or
There
like
we go. Thank you.
emergent issues. Yeah.
Chronic condition planning. It's one of those ones that like if you have a chronic condition, like okay, so my dad had multiple sclerosis. So having medication on hand in the event that he couldn't get it, that would be a hard thing for him because his medication was super expensive. So that was like in my brain, it was difficult. I'm like, well, but what if, you get snowed in? What if the vehicles aren't running? Because his medication was like had to be, taken at the exact same time every single day. Like really, real picky one. Um, so like, yeah, having if you have the ability to have extra medication on hand, that's a good prep to have, and use first in, first out, protocols to
Mm.
make sure that you're keeping everything within, so nothing expires or whatever.
Yeah. Which is more, it depends on the medication,
On the
but
medication, yes.
anything you're doing, it's a good
If
idea.
it's a refrigerated medication, though, I'm pretty adamant about that one.
Yep.
Yeah, take care of that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, chronic conditions in medication in general, is having a good med kit on hand. I was shoot, it's an online service. You can get a interview with a doctor online, and they
Mhm.
can prescribe you and send you a whole kit.
Yeah.
Um, I looked into it a couple times. They're really expensive, but they're really well equipped.
Mhm.
Um, so if that's within your, you know, budget, that may be a good option. I've
Yeah,
also heard
there's a bunch of companies doing that now, and I'm
that's good.
sure some are way better than others.
Yeah, that is honestly one of the worst parts of the all online thing is there's so many scam artists
Mhm.
that just want to make a quick buck. And that's horrible.
Yeah.
Like it actually really angers me a lot. But yeah, proper storage and just having medication on hand, and think about your animals too. Like some animals require medication. Like personally, like if your dog requires medication, maybe it doesn't need to be around for long, but whatever.
If it's easy, I mean, if it's
Yeah,
antibiotics or it's ivermectin or something that you could
yeah.
have on hand, you
Oh yeah,
probably should.
you should have
Um,
some ivermectin. And anyway,
the other point in chronic conditions and planning
yeah.
for that is so much of what we're told you can't cure is actually
Oh yeah,
healable with diet, and that
right.
I'm a walking example of that. I'd be in a wheelchair probably, you know, in very, very bad shape if I just continued with the way that I was living, which was actually healthier than most people live already.
The irony of that.
So,
I thought it was doing a good job.
right. So understanding that like we're being lied to about what we're supposed to eat, go eat more meats and animal fats and things like that, but dump the garbage
Yes.
and you'll see, reduce your sugar dramatically, use better salt, just eat better foods in general, source them better, and you can avoid and eliminate a huge number of chronic diseases.
Oh yeah. Oh, my pastor, he was having weird issues, and if I really had been paying attention, I probably could have caught this, but I didn't. Um, and we just hadn't talked in a while. It turns out he has developed diabetes,
Mhm. Type
and
2, I assume.
yeah,
Yeah.
and dude, he and I were talking on Sunday, and it was like we as Americans we eat crappy, we eat
Mhm.
so bad, And it's no wonder that we are having so many issues with everything from an endocrine system to, yeah, all of it. Like
Yeah. Well, and if you go on I believe it's the American Diabetes Association. There's two different ones, and one's
yeah.
actually decent, the other's terrible. Um, but they partner with DaVita,
Okay.
right? So
Yeah.
the dialysis company that profits off of you having diabetes
Okay.
to
Uh,
create recipes for diabetics, and they post them on their website. And so they have these ridiculous you know, options like,
that's
um,
kidney failure, not diabetes.
well, kidney failure
It
happens
can as a
late stage
secondary. Yeah,
diabetes.
it can
Yeah.
absolutely.
And so, so they're partnering with, or DaVita is basically creating this system through them as a nonprofit.
It's a funnel.
Um, yeah, that that the recipes are things like raisin sugar, oatmeal sugar cookies, you know,
Oh,
and they're like, it's only this many grams of sugar. And you look at it and it's like, what is your serving size? And their serving size is like this.
yeah, right.
And they
Nobody's
know
gonna
you're
eat
going to
that.
eat
You're gonna eat,
like the
multiple
whole plate
cookies.
full.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
And go just about into a diabetic coma. And
Yeah, yeah, honestly.
uh, but that's the system that we're getting our, our health information from,
Right.
is that compromised. So anyways.
Indeed. Agreed. What was it? Oh, my mom posted, medical devices as well as prescriptions. That is absolutely valid. So, like, my mother-in-law has a, oxygen concentrator,
Mhm,
for sleep apnea and, just issues with breathing. And like my dad, when we escaped the fire, had to remember to grab his catheters so that he could continue to be able to cath, so that
mhm,
he could, function. Um, having something on hand for, emergencies. So like my mother-in-law, um, I built her a little stupid solar setup that was adequate to maintain her, you know, for sleeping durations, like, just a overnight stay,
mhm.
to be able to run her concentrator overnight, with a small solar panel battery and, inverter. So yeah, something like that, you know, if you can, it's something to think about.
Yeah. Well, and Mark here is mentioning antibiotics.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I believe you can get from what you were talking about, where you get a doctor to prescribe it. Also, I believe you have Alton's antibiotics, or is it Joe Alton's guide on that gives
I
how to
don't have
get.
it in
Okay.
there, but is that's
Yeah.
a good resource. Yes.
Yep. And apparently they're trying to shut down the fish antibiotics
Oh,
loophole.
I
So
that doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
yeah. But if you look up Joel
Oh,
Alton's
yeah.
antibiotic, what is it, in austere settings or something like that,
Something, yeah.
he's got a whole book on how to get them,
Yep. It is.
and they just diminish in potency over time.
Yeah, right. All right. So chronic conditions, medical medication storage, hygiene during emergencies. So I sell dude wipes. And I've had so many people that they're like going around the store and they're like, yeah, this is cool, camping. Why do you have dude wipes? Like, okay, so let me tell you something. Like, when you're out in the woods, keep clean,
Mhm.
because between, your nethers and your feet, they will take you out of commission or bad water faster than anything.
Right.
Just take just take that little extra, take care of yourself, keep yourself clean, and everything else will be so much better.
Yep. Yeah, cleanliness and hygiene is a lot more important because we're thinking, "Oh, we're rugged men or whatever,
Yeah,
and
right.
we'll make it," and yeah, it's the hangnail that's gonna kill you in the apocalypse.
Seriously. Yeah.
It's
It's
the
the
infected
stupid
hangnail,
yes, right?
right?
You got a little cut or something and it gets infected and then you die of, like, yeah. Oh, and I have
Dysentery if
them.
it's Oregon Trail.
Right. Yes. Like, I have, some dude wipes in the vehicles because I've kids, and kids do stupid things and or throw up on themselves, they get car sick, or whatever. Life happens. Having a good way of cleaning up is a great thing. Just
Right.
have some dude. And I got the nice unscented ones, so it's end up smelling like a rose, which is bad security upsec anyway. um okay, so hygiene during emergency, yes, keep yourself clean. um Pandemic and disease readiness, which we kind of already covered with the medication thing, but it is definitely something to be conscious of.
Mhm.
Um, is not spreading germs and not being around contagious peoples, and taking precautions. It's we
Washing your
don't
hands.
exactly. It's the simple things. It's not even like these like we don't have to mask up. Just wash your hands. My gosh, like
Mhm.
people are
Or we could,
nasty,
make up fake distances to stand from
right?
people
Yeah,
or
because germs, they know that 6 foot distance. Ooh,
yeah.
they'll stop. Or the red line on the ground. Oh, they were not going past that.
No,
Uh,
especially when they're aerosolized from going through a mask, I'm sure they're just not gonna go more than 6 feet.
they just die. They instantly
Yeah.
just vaporize. Um, Mental health in an emergency, the stress on your brain, you're not aware of it. Probably honestly for weeks afterwards, if depending on the severity of it. Like I remember after the car accident right out there. I remember right after that, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be a fun one to process." Because like immediately, I'm like, "I got to call my family.
Mhm.
I gotta talk to my kids. Like I have to." And even after that, for a while, it was one of those like that could have been my kids. That could have been my kids. Like that was somebody's kids, and it
Right.
really it's a hard thing, and having some way of working through and processing through the mental strain of an emergency is
Mhm.
really important. Whether it's somebody to talk to, bring a keep a Bible with you. You can pray. There's a but be conscious and intentional about your mental state in an emergency.
Yeah. Well, and to add to that, if you're rocking it for a couple of days or something, one of the things that's gonna happen is your body's gonna switch from burning sugars
Oh,
to burning fats, and you're gonna go through they call it the keto flu, but you get
yes.
massive headaches, you stop being able to think right. Um, you can force yourself through that every once in a while with a fast, which is really good
Yep.
for you anyways.
Yep.
And the reason you end up having that bad reaction is your body's processing all the crap that's getting stored in your fat cells.
Yes.
And so if you do that periodically, one, it's not nearly as bad. And
You know what to
two,
expect.
yeah, two, you know what to expect. And three, your body can go into it a lot easier. So for
Yep.
me, if I don't eat for a day, which actually happens quite often, my body just switches and I don't even notice it anymore.
Yeah. Right.
Right. And then I just keep going. So it's not a
Well,
big deal. But if you're under a ton of stress and your body goes through that switch and
yeah.
your brain can't function because it's, burning through all the garbage that's in your fat stores,
Right.
it's going to be that much worse
Well, and
mentally.
going back to our overall, diet, the better your diet, the more you can reduce that impact and how
Mhm,
extreme that is gonna, mess with your body, your metabolism, your brain, your kidney function, where you have to flush out all that stuff. Oh yeah, make sure you have water, because when you do that, you need to flush that stuff out.
mhm,
Um, and
yep,
yeah, water's important. We'll get to that. Actually, that's next. Um, Caring for children, elderly, or disabled people. If you found yourself um, out and there's an emergency, there are special, things that we need to think about if we have kids, if we have aging parents, if we have, whatever, maybe we have a disabled child or brother, sister, parent, whatever. So having things on hand to help to alleviate those issues, understanding that maybe we don't have help coming, at least not in the in the near future, to be able to handle that, whether that's incontinent issues or whether that's medications or whatever, like having your own trapeze so that you can get, grandma in and out of the shower, um, having a chair so that she can sit down, um, something on the commode to give her handles so that, stuff like that. Just thinking just that one step ahead can make a huge difference in an emergency.
Yeah, for sure. Making sure kids have enough clothes,
Yep.
something dry to replace what they're wearing if they need it,
Yes,
that
and
kind of
maybe
stuff.
something to keep them entertained. That kind of goes back to the mental health thing. Having a deck of cards is honestly one of the. Yes, it's stupid, but like think of how many games you can play with a deck of
Mhm.
cards.
Yeah.
It's one of those. Yeah, they're all card games, but you can mix it up. We're doing Texas Hold'em now. Like, okay, go fish or whatever. It's a simple thing, but it's something.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Is there anything else that you want to hit on? Medical
No,
and
I
health.
think that's about it. I've got a
Oh,
comment from oh, no, that's the wrong one. Sorry. This one. Timothy, he's saying Cappy directed me here. Cappy, this is just funny aside from my history.
okay.
I when Megan and I first got married, we were living in the upstairs of a tiny house, like a very small house. So the
Okay.
upstairs was like 600 square feet, and it had been
Yeah.
turned into like an apartment. And so
Apartment.
we
Yeah.
lived there for about 6 months. And while we were there, it sold to this guy. Um, and he became our landlord, but he moved in below us.
Oh, okay.
And so we ended up hanging out quite a bit. But he's got a fairly large YouTube channel,
Oh,
and he's been telling people to come over and watch
oh,
mine. So, anyways,
right
we
on.
appreciate, and they call him Cappy for I guess he goes by Captain or Cappy. It's just kind of a long running
Gotcha.
joke. So,
That's
anyways,
awesome. Thank
got
you for the follow.
yeah, I got somebody from over there. That's cool.
And honestly, take a little second. Like, if you're not already following, consider following. It really helps both Ryan and I, because both YouTube and Facebook hate us and what we try to promote. So if this means something to you, like, share, subscribe, send it to a friend. It means a lot.
Yep, click the buttons.
That's right. Do the stuff. All right. Food and water preparedness. The good stuff. Okay. So right there. Got food.
Yep.
I'll have my filter up there. Okay. There's a filter in that bag. Anyway, um, having some form of like, it doesn't have to be freeze dried food. It might maybe just have canned foods. I know, canning is a whole lot easier than buying a freeze dryer. So,
Mhm.
and if you got a garden, can it. I mean, do it.
Mine is actually just freezed foods, and I
Oh,
have a
okay.
way of
Yeah.
keeping my freezers going indefinitely.
Right.
So, right, it's inexpensive, it's quick. Even our garden stuff, we don't really can much. We mostly put it in bags and throw it in the freezer.
Simple, works,
Yeah.
clean. I mean, yeah. And then you have the whole, food, whatever it is, ready to go at it, fairly quick, notice.
Yep. Yeah, and we typically just throw it in as a soup or a stew or something, and so,
Sure.
makes for easy food storage.
Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a super, yeah, that's not even an expensive thing. I mean, you can usually get a freezer, a deep chest freezer, deep freeze fairly inexpensively. They go on sale
Mhm,
occasionally, like, pick it up on Facebook Marketplace, maybe 100 bucks, 200
mhm.
bucks. Like, yeah, you can spend, $1,000 and get the gigantic, 30 cubic foot ones, but you don't
Right.
need to.
No, and I prefer actually several small ones as
True.
opposed to because if one dies, then I have somewhere to move the stuff.
Right. Right. Yes. So yeah, having some way of storing food, especially if you grow your own. But if you don't grow your own, you go shopping, you're getting canned foods. Just grab an extra can, throw it on the shelf at the back, and just work your way through it. And every time if you grab an extra can, you will accumulate. Um, if you don't currently have extra food, like if you buy enough for a week, to last you until you shop again, set yourself a goal. I want to have a 14-day, running food supply. You know what you're going to consume within a week, if that's what your standard interval is, and just accumulate. And over the course of the next 7 shopping trips, you'll have accumulated an additional week. And then you do it again. So the next 14 shopping trips, you'll have accumulated 2 weeks worth, and just continue that. just throwing an extra can here, an extra can there. Yes, there is a cost to it, but it's not like going out and buying this stuff. That's lots of money. Buying just a little bit extra. And that's the thing, like, okay, I can have, these canned food, or this freeze-dried food, but my gut isn't used to eating that. My gut is used to eating the food I'm used to eating.
Mhm.
I highly recommend using what you eat, getting, because you don't want to shock your system by completely changing your diet because you're in an emergency. You're already going through enough. You're in some kind of an emergency.
Right.
Don't wreck your gut at the same time.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that, and that's why, so my friend Nicole, who we had on the podcast, she says, "Eat what you store and store what you eat."
Absolutely.
And so to the extent that you can, think about what you're already eating and what of that you can store well.
Mhm.
And then do some people call it copy canning, where you, if you're gonna buy, if you buy canned stuff, if you're gonna buy, let's say you do spaghetti, well, buy an extra package of spaghetti and an extra, thing of sauce. It's not gonna be that much. You do it each week or every time you buy groceries for a
Yep.
while. Then eventually you have a a decent stockpile, and then you start rotating through that, and
Yep.
you use the first stuff you bought.
Yep. Right. Yeah. Having a good first in, first out system so that you keep track of it so you don't use up, the new stuff. And I really like that mindset because you end up buying things in good proportions. Because the last thing you really want to do is like, oh, all I've got left is just beans. Like that's going to be miserable. So buying things, with a meal in mind. So you buy all of the different components that will, create that meal. Or heck, make yourself a big batch of whatever and do what Ryan does and just freeze the extra. And now you've got a whole meal ready to go in the freezer, done. So there's lots of
This
options
is
for food basics.
this is funny.
Definitely the
Definitely
stream.
listening to this stream, they just played an ad for how healthy sugar is. Oh, yeah.
Wow. That doesn't
Apparently they
surprise
were
me, but
listening, but not quite right.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
They got their own agenda there. Anyway, so yes, food storage. Cooking without power. So I remember growing up, we had a snowstorm. Been about 1989, about I think it was 89. And we were out of power for a while. But we had a wood stove. No, we had the gas stove at that time. And it was really good because there was a whole bunch of our neighbors who had electric, and they had no way of cooking. So we made this gigantic pot of soup and we took it around to the neighbors. Having a alternate means of cooking. Whenever I buy a wood stove, I always look for one that have a flat enough top that I can boil water on. And I really
Mhm.
like the ones that are like two tiered, where it's like, okay, this is the heating surface and that's like the warming surface,
Yeah.
because you never know when you're going to need some other way of boiling water. Um, whether that's to reconstitute, freeze dried food, or, to heat up your soup that's in the freezer or
Just make
whatever.
water safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Honestly. Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
there was, I forget what the plague or whatever it was, but there was some massive illness in England, and they figured out that all these, like, drunkards basically were surviving just fine.
because the alcohol killed the bugs.
Well, the boiling of the
Yeah,
water for
yeah,
before they brewed it was
sure,
killing everything, and
sure.
so, all these people who basically only drank beer were doing great, and everybody else who was drinking the water that was
Was dying.
getting human feces in it
Oh,
was dying,
yeah,
so,
right.
anyways, I don't remember the specifics of it, but,
Sounds
that
about
that
right.
was a thing.
Yeah. Well, and that even goes back to ancient Egypt. They they drank fermented things because, they may have not realized why it was, but they were healthier. Um, and so they had their wines and their beers.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's something that's interesting is wine and beer used to be fermented,
Yeah,
drinks,
right,
not, some dead thing that was fermented at one point.
right. No, it was a living process.
Yeah.
Yes, very much
Yeah,
so.
I've got kefir grain, like water
Yeah,
kefir grains, and there's
yeah,
milk kefir grains as well.
sure.
Those have believed to have been passed down for, thousands of years.
Wow.
Nobody knows exactly where they came from or exactly where they originated.
Huh,
But potentially in the Kakak region, but it's, nobody really knows. It's just
that's
kind of
wild,
guessed at. Yeah.
right?
And they're sitting in my, it's a SCOBY or a symbiotic colony, that's sitting in my cupboard right now that has literally been passed on for generations.
That's super cool.
Yeah. So,
Nice.
anyways, yeah, being able to prepare the food and have food that's going to be, free of pathogens and things, that's
Mhm.
super important.
Yep.
Um, I've got a cooktop it's kind of like a camping stove, but it's a lot bigger. It's got its own legs
Oh,
and hooked
nice.
up to a big propane tank, and that's
Very
or
good.
even just your grill, right?
Yeah.
Your backyard grill, your pellet grill, whatever you've got.
Yes.
If it doesn't require power, at least you should be able
Mhm,
to use it.
mhm. Don't bring it inside though.
No.
Yeah, yeah, having some just any way of boiling water. I mean, at the very, very basics, some way of boiling water will help. Yeah.
Looking at your notes, the
Yeah.
next one you've got is nutrition under stress,
Yes.
which is right up my alley. So
Yes,
tell me
go
what
for
you're
it.
thinking about
Oh,
that.
I was thinking about you because I mean, like, and we've already, hit on, the importance of nutrition, especially like you said, under stress.
Yeah. Yeah, and if there's something that you take, as a supplement, that'd be another good thing to have a little bit extra on hand.
Yep.
You don't have to go nuts, but, if it's beneficial to you or it's making a big difference in easy times, it's gonna be even more beneficial in hard times.
Yes. Yes. And that's across the board. The things that we're accustomed to and now, um, if you were to remove all of those simultaneously, um, that it just compounds your stress. So
Mhm.
yeah, if it's beneficial to you right now, then you should definitely have some extra on hand.
Yep. Yeah, and something that's yeah, it's good for you, so keep it around. Um, Forging myths versus reality.
Okay.
Um,
Yes.
Tell me about what you were thinking when you wrote this one down.
Um, so there's entirely too many people come into the shop who are like, "Oh yeah, if everything went to hell in a handbasket, I'll just go out in the woods and I'll just eat what the Lord provides." And I'm like, "When was the last time you did that?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh well, yeah, I've never actually done, but I know what. One, you don't understand how many calories you need.
Mhm.
Two, you don't actually know what it is that you can probably eat, and more importantly, you probably don't know what you shouldn't eat."
Right. Well, and, so let's, add on top of that, during the Great Depression, squirrels just about entirely disappeared. Like,
Most small
I'm
animals
sure they
did.
weren't extinct, but
Real
nobody
close.
could find them, and it was probably pretty close. Same with turkey. Wild
Yeah,
turkey was considered I think I don't remember if it was endangered or some lesser, but they were
it was yeah,
almost gone
yeah.
during the Great Depression.
Gotta eat.
So yeah, we've got more guns in this country than we do people. There's a lot of people who are going to go out and shoot things. It's you need to have some actual plan for real food. You're not going to go and forage everything. And
No.
what if it's the middle of winter?
Yeah.
What are you going to eat then?
Yep. Exactly. So, and I think entirely too many people, and that's one of my issues with the bug out idea. It's like,
Mhm.
what do you plan on eating? Like, you're not going to take. Like, okay, I've rucked out with multiple days worth of food. That sucks. That takes up a lot of weight and space in your bag. And then what do you do when you run out? Like,
Mhm.
I don't like that. I mean, get home, absolutely. Have a get home bag because that's where your stuff is and your people are. That's good.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah,
Don't
I think
leave.
bugging out is rarely the correct answer unless you live in, suburbs or city or something.
Yeah, right.
But even in the suburbs, oftentimes you're better staying in unless it's, riots or flooding or something that you need to get away from.
Yeah, and in which case I would, lean more towards community being like, "Hey, you need to be friends with your neighbors so that you guys can work together to prevent anything bad from coming your
Mhm.
way," but floods are floods, so yeah, fair enough.
Right. Well, and again, community for maybe you've got, 2 or 3 different friends who you're, like, in different directions from your house,
Yeah,
where you're like, they'll have a bed for you and your family,
yep,
regardless of what it takes them to make that happen. And so you've kind of pre-gamed and pre-planned that these are your spots depending on which
yep,
way you have to go.
yep. Oh, I when the fire happened, that's what I told Meg. I'm like, "Go to Mike's house."
Mhm.
He was, and it went in both ways because I remember having that conversation with Mike. Was he's a dentist friend of mine that lives in Chico. Um, he's like, "Oh yeah, I know. If anything ever happens, go to Jared's
Right.
because he knew he was welcome to come, um, and I had stuff for him and his family, and vice versa. And so when fire happened, we went to his house. We
Mhm.
consequently got re-evacuated from his house because the fire kept continuing on towards his house. But we did stop there for at least a little while.
Yeah. You had somewhere to kinda regroup and
We did, which was
consider what
great.
was next. Yeah.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So yeah, forging myths and versus realities is, and this goes, heck, this even goes back to backpacks. Um, get out and use your stuff. Try
Mhm.
it.
Yep.
Maybe you're really good at it. Maybe you do know all, what plants to eat, and you're great in the woods. Fantastic. Lean into that, teach other people. Maybe you're not quite as good as you think you are. An opportunity to get better,
Yeah.
especially when
Well, and
it's lower risk, higher
well, yeah,
reward.
go out for a day and try to live on wild blackberries that you find, right?
Oh,
Like, how much of your day is going to be spent picking blackberries only to feel like crap because your body's not used to them,
right.
right?
And there's
Like,
just no calories. There's not enough calories. You'd have to eat so much, and then you'd be sick from just the sucrose that no.
right. Yeah. So this idea of I'm gonna forage what I need is it's silly. You're not gonna catch enough rats or whatever else you think you're gonna do.
Right.
You need other realistic plans.
Indeed. So, and that really kind of goes right into the next one, which is short term versus long term food plans, um, which kind of ties back to rationing strategies, which I kind of skipped over. Um, when you're, if there's an emergency, you won't always have a good feel for the duration, depending on what it is. Like, so we had, some snowstorms and we had some power outages. I was fairly confident. It's like, okay, maybe 24 hours, maybe. It was less. It usually is less. Um, but sometimes it's more. So, but I'm not going to go, okay, we're not going to have, any electricity for the next week. And so we got to starve ourselves because we got to make all of our food last for, so having some idea about what, the duration of this is will really go a long ways towards, giving you, now as time goes on and stuff continues, then you can adjust. But for the first little bit, it's, don't just jump straight to like minimum rations, right? We
Right.
learned that in Oregon Trail, right? Everybody gets real miserable and sick,
And
and they die,
dysentery.
and they die of dysentery. Exactly. The next generation, they never had to endure Oregon Trail, and I think they're weaker for it.
Yeah, you have to be of a certain generation to even get what we're talking about.
That's probably true. Darn it.
I think we might have been the last.
Oh, that's probably true. Oh goodness. So yeah, short term versus long term food plans. Have one. Um, yeah, have one. Have have a plan. I
Yep.
guess that's a lot of what this is just be honest and think about stuff like this.
Mhm.
Is talk to your family, like sit down with your wife and go, hey, look, if something happened, okay, something happened to me. Does my wife know what all I've planned for this area? Like I may have all these wonderful plans, and put things, maybe I've got caches around and I've got all this stuff, but if I die, is, my wife like completely screwed because she has no
Right.
idea? Like having this, communicating is really important.
Yeah,
Novelty.
well, and that I think what I know I don't do well enough is write things down,
Oh, right.
right? And when you write things down,
It's all
you're
in here.
forced yeah, you're forced to think about, "Okay, does this actually make sense, and can I communicate this to somebody else?" Because if you can't write it down, you can't communicate it.
Sure.
So, writing it down and then thinking of how to communicate it in a way that's, um, viable for somebody else to hear.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times you or I, am sure, could ramble on for hours about our plans or the things we're thinking about or the different angles you could approach something from,
Yeah.
which is what we do. We're doing that right now.
Exactly.
But my wife doesn't watch this and she's not going to.
Right.
um and she doesn't want to listen to me ramble on and on about, all the 10 different ways I've prepared for this situation.
Yep.
Um or any of my other family members for that matter. So, yeah, you're right. If you can boil it down to simple things and the most important things they need to know,
Yep.
that's going to get you a long ways.
Very much so. Very,
Boil
very
it
much so.
down to something they'll listen to,
Yeah.
or
Right.
you're going to get nowhere. All right.
Agreed.
So, next segment or section is like skills based preparedness, which I love because I'm all about learning skills,
Yeah.
and having the mindset of being able to think through the scenario that needs addressing. So, what are some of the skills that you have or that
So,
you have listed?
trying to think how I wanted to do this one. Okay, so one of the skills is navigation. We've become very accustomed to utilization of like GPS, but GPS isn't always an option. It's not always a good option. So go old school. Like, have you like actually? And we've talked about this on the podcast about
Mhm,
having a map and teaching our kids to how to read a map. And um, Rowan, my son, he was a part of Trail Life last year, and one of the things that they did is land navigation. And so we got out, and they had set up little, I think they like stapled a plate to a tree out in this field, like
but
five of
just
them.
like waypoints.
Waypoints, yeah. And so
Got
we were at a point, and it said, "Okay, here's your heading. This is the distance." And so we learned how to pace, and we learned how to take a heading and how to walk that and find that waypoint. And then the next one's going to be at 135 degrees distance of. It was great. It was so much fun. Like he and I were just tromping through the woods. It was good. And so that's actually something I wanted to do. I've got a couple friends of mine who taught land nav in the military, and I think it'd be fun to like mix that with like geocaching, where we have
Mhm.
like actual waypoints and like send out teams and go here, go. We'll teach them how to do it, and then just like go and see. I don't know, see if it works.
Yeah, geocaching without the GPS.
Exactly,
Sounds like fun.
old school.
Cool. Yeah.
So yeah, land navigation, communication, radio communication, I mean, smoke signals, whatever. Having some way of communicating aside from picking up your cell phone. Um, I'm just now getting into that field, and oh my gosh, that is a deep rabbit hole. I knew it was deep, but like, dude, it's deep.
Like the different things you can do to communicate.
Yeah, well, just delving into um and I made the mistake of also going into DMR, so digital versus like old school analog.
Mhm,
Um, Analog is pretty straightforward. There's a lot of nuance into it, but it's pretty straightforward. Digital gets ridiculous real fast.
mhm.
I kind of want to ignore it for right now because I got a digital, and so I've got the UV32 Baofeng, and then I was like, oh well, they have the digital version, the DM32. I'll just get that. I'm gonna ignore that thing. It doesn't exist right now because
Probably a good idea.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh, ridiculous. But anyway, getting used to how to communicate over radios is, I think, a really good resource that most people don't have. And you become a resource to your whole community in an emergency. I
Mhm.
remember, and I think I brought it up at least once. These Boy Scouts who helped out. It was sometime in the 90s. We had a snowstorm or something around Christmas, and these Boy Scouts set up their ham radios, and they were acting as dispatchers for this whole area
Wow.
because they could.
Mhm.
And what an awesome way to be able to contribute in an emergency is
Yeah.
being able to help communication.
Well, and even if you don't want your ham license, you
Yeah,
can have a ham radio to listen, and in an
absolutely.
emergency, nobody's gonna come after you for radioing out.
Yeah. And so like the UV32s, I've got mine programmed for GMRS because I have a GMRS license. Now, they're not technically GMRS radios because they are actually ham radios, but they are, I've got them on my frequencies. And yeah, absolutely. Yeah. In an emergency, nobody's going to come after you. And, but you can absolutely have a ham radio and you can absolutely listen. That's not an issue.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, communication, fire making and shelter building. Another really, so I have the little ferrocerium rods in the shop, and my kids put together the little kit. So it's got a ferrocerium rod and a striker and an old school P38 slash P51 can opener. And my son, he's like, oh dad, he's like, this is a fire starter. Can I have it? I'm like, you can have it if you can go and start a fire with it. He has still not started a fire with it. It is halfway worn out.
That's pretty funny. Yeah,
It
it's good to know though, right?
it's a skill,
Mhm.
learning how to make a feather stick, or how to find fat wood to be able to make something that's tender, that lights fairly easily, when you're striking it, to not knock over your pile that you've just meticulously crafted to make your little fire teepee or whatever you're doing, and then you go to strike it and you knock it over. um it's one of those things, is like, we can intellectually have the knowledge, but without the experience, when you go to actually do it, you realize, oh, the knowledge isn't sufficient. We need the experience.
Yes.
And that's it's one of those things, like, I sell equipment. That's what I sell. Um, but the equipment is really tertiary. Having the knowledge is primary, having the experience being secondary. The equipment comes after all of that because it makes it easier, sure. But if you don't have the experience in the first place, having all of the equipment in the world is not gonna help.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember, back in a prior life, working in the field with guys, and they're like, "Oh, we can't do this job. We don't have this tool or this part." And I'm like,
What?
"What other stuff do you have on your truck that
Right?
you know that you can do the same thing with? You need leverage." Like,
Yeah. There's only a
you
couple simple machines.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
let's take a step
Um,
back.
it's like, well, do you have a, pull hardware in your truck? Can you use one of those giant bolts as some leverage? Or, what is it that we need? And um a joke in the preparedness community is oftentimes you don't need a drill bit, you need a hole. And there's a lot of ways to get a hole.
Right.
So, yeah, it's just having that ability to think through it and the experience to know that something else will work, or to know how to use the thing, because having all the stuff is useless if you don't know how to actually use it.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so the next one, or that one is, shelter building. The second part of that is shelter building. So, like, here's, a poncho, and then here's a emergency shelter tarp. If you don't have a way of suspending those, well, then you're like, "Oh, well, do you just give up and die?" Like, no. Like, what do we do? Okay, let's bend over a small tree and use that and just lash it down with rocks, or, I've got shoelaces. Hey, let's, unless I'm wearing my cowboy boots, I've got I've got ropes on my feet,
Yep.
which happen to be paracord on one pair of my boots.
Well, and I, I'm just thinking, like, scenarios too, right? Where understanding how something will play out. Let's say you've got a cot you can put out, but it's a really cold night, and you're
Oh,
oh, you're in like a just something that has a cover over it, right?
right.
Shed or a lean to or
Only
something.
two, yeah, right.
Yeah, and like one person's got a cot that keeps them up off the ground, and the other person has like one of those safety blankets, or
Yeah.
the emergency blankets,
Yeah.
and there's some straw around. Well, you're if it's a really cold night, you're going to be a lot better off in that safety blanket, in the straw than
Oh, yeah.
elevated off the ground, even though a cot sounds much nicer.
Oh, it's more comfortable, but then you have
Yeah.
all the airflow around you, stripping
Mhm.
all that heat away.
Yep, and just having that little bit of base of knowledge can
Mhm.
make an entirely keep you from being extremely cold and uncomfortable and worn out overnight to
Yeah. Well, it's
functional.
take it the other way. We're in the middle of summer. You want
Mhm.
airflow. You wanna get as much air flowing around you as possible, so having that elevated, sleeping position, better.
Yep.
So you can't have a cot. Okay, well, what do you have? If you can cut some logs and create something of a elevated bench that you can, awesome. Is there running water nearby that you can use to wick away heat? Awesome. Like, so yeah, knowing those kinds of things and thinking just a little bit outside the box can make a huge difference on, because not having a good night's sleep will absolutely impact your cognitive function, like,
Mhm.
badly. So yeah, having a good idea on how to make fire, how to build a shelter, that rolls right into improvised tools. Oh, I don't have a hammer. Well, no, but I got a stick there. Like,
Right.
go caveman, like, Ogadoga. Like,
Right, or a rock, or
yeah,
there's the just about anything can be made into a hammer.
yeah, right. And if you need a hole, there's, like you said, there's a lot of ways of making a hole. Like, I got a firearm, I can make a hole. Like,
Right.
there's a lot of ways to make a hole. I got a knife. Like, we got options here. Um, so yeah, having the ability to just think outside the box sometimes can be massively crucial
Yep.
in survival.
So there's this, video floating around for a while, and it was this guy installing his Starlink, and he
Okay.
needed to get the wire through his roof.
Okay.
And he's like, "I don't have a drill bit, but I have a sidearm."
Yep. Yep.
And so he
That,
takes a
that,
shot and he's like, "Yeah, it still doesn't fit." Takes another shot.
oh, jeez.
I'm sure it was just a bit for the video, but
I'm
it was
sure,
still
but
pretty funny.
I mean, it's not wrong.
Right.
I mean, if you shoot
What
from the
that does to
inside
what's
out,
below
it
it.
makes that nice flared, so it sheds water
Pushes the
better, I
water
guess.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good thought.
Don't shoot it from the outside
Telling
in, shoot it from the inside out.
him.
Um, so yeah, improvised tools. I mean, if you got to make it work, you got to make it work. If you don't have an option, and it's a really good actually mindset to get used to. And I kind of talked about, shutting off the breaker, forcing yourself. If I don't have an option, if there is nothing else, there is no other choices here. What am I going to do? Am I literally going to just curl up and die? I don't think so. I'm not going, no, I'm not going to curl up and die. I will figure this out some way, one way or another. It may not be right. It definitely probably won't be right, but I will figure something out.
Yeah, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, especially in a situation like that.
Yes. Yes. Oh yeah. Cause I mean, gosh, everything is going to be so fluid anyway that you wouldn't want to have a perfect solution because probably you're going to abandon it or have to tear it down to build something else to do fix it something else. So
Right.
you don't need to have a perfect solution. You just need a functional one,
Yep, for sure.
which actually rolls fairly nicely into decision making under stress. Um, Cognitive function declines rapidly. You will fail down to your training, not rise to your hopes and expectations. And decision making is right in the middle of all of that. We're not good, not always. Um, some people are just inherently better at making decisions in stressful environments, and they end up in stressful types of jobs. We have if you're around a lot of EMS guys, and ER nurses, there's a lot of them are very similar, and we have very twisted senses of humor, and we're just special. Um, but it's because they function better under those environments. Um, be aware of yourself and how you function in a stressful environment. And it's a hard thing to replicate.
Mhm.
Um, but it's an important thing to try and push yourself in and force yourself into. And maybe it's a matter of like, maybe it's like I put on a class where I literally intentionally get you lost and you have to figure it out, or whatever, something like that. Maybe that's a thing. Maybe that's something we can develop is like we will stress you out now and then you can feel what it's like. But it's a good
Yeah.
thing.
I mean, as you were explaining it, Silas does that for some of his
Yes.
situations. So,
Yes.
makes a lot of sense. So, what's your survival priorities rule of threes?
I had this all written out and I couldn't find my document. I went looking for it and I couldn't find it. So we can skip over the rules of threes, but priorities, water, shelter, fire, um, no matter what, you're going to need to have some way of protecting yourself. You're going to need some form of water, whether you're stuck on the side of the road or whatever. Having you don't need to have movies really I think have screwed up a lot of things as far as like how we prioritize things.
Mhm.
People will spend an inordinate amount of time pursuing the wrong things and really hyper focusing. It's like, oh, I got to have that. If I have that, then everything else will kind of fall into place or something. It's not usually the case. Um,
Right.
so finding a good place that is a good shelter, really important. It makes you feel like you have something of a home. You have some place to be safe. Back to the mental aspect. Having fire again is really comforting. Um, you have a way of purifying water. So you have a water source, but you don't know if you trust it. Well, if you have fire, you can at least do your best to
Mhm.
get it clean. Um, so yeah, priorities are important, and there's a lot of really good books on survival that yeah, I don't need to go into deep because there's lots of good books that are much better than me rambling on.
Cool, man. Um, the next kind of like big header section that
Yeah,
you put in notes is community and family resilience. So obviously we're talking about thinking through the bigger group dynamics and
yeah.
things like that. Where would you start with this?
Well, for your own family, like, and we've kind of talked about this, getting on the same page, because maybe our spouses don't really want to think about all of this, but they at least need to be aware of what it is that we've planned and made provisions for. So starting at home, then moving outward from that, knowing your neighbors. Um, they're not always going to be on the same page either,
Mhm.
and you can usually feel that one out pretty quick and easy. And if they're not, that's okay. You can still be there for them even if they aren't really there for you. Um, but sometimes you just kind of gotta cut your loss and just go on. Um, we're Middle Tennessee. There's a lot of people who have very similar mindsets. I find in this area.
Yeah. Well, and especially in your area, it's like
Yeah,
it's a
it's a
hotbed for
prerequisite to be.
yeah.
Yeah, we have like I think the highest density per capita of veterans and
Wow.
and military like in Van Buren County. It's ridiculous. We have so many vets, and they moved there because they want to be away from people.
Mhm.
They want it. How did Hansel say it? They want to be alone together. Which yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
So yeah, knowing your community. If you can, finding like a mutual assistance group where you can really delve into these subjects and get to know people and learn. Like Ryan, you've taught classes at mags in this area, and there's a lot of people teaching a lot of stuff, and they may not be so formalized as having a class. Maybe it's just a conversation, or maybe it's a hey, I'll come over to your farm and I'll show you what I've done.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the point of a mutual assistance group or a mag is that um I think it's public at this point. There's some type of announcement.
Oh, is there? Good.
But there is the one of the guys locally there that does raw milk got raided, I think completely illegitimately, but
Oh,
regardless, there's a
oh,
group of people looking, basically on the ready to go, how can we help? What can we
yeah, yeah,
do? What does your
right.
family need? Um, you know, you can't sell milk for now because the government said you can't. So how do we help you? You know,
In the interim, yeah,
yeah. And so, there's an immediate group of people who are just like, what do we do to help?
sure,
How do we step in? Because you've been such a good part of our community.
yeah.
You've been so important and integral in making these things happen. So yeah, community can't be overstated.
Yeah, and maybe you find that at church. Maybe you've got, some people in your church that you've just really connected with. You're similar minded. Maybe you're not quite as geographically close as,
Mhm.
but oh well. At least you get together, once, twice a week, whatever, hang out, swap recipes, help each other out.
Yeah,
Having that community, having those resources, I cannot um I can't say enough good things about. I mean,
right.
gosh, Ryan, you've been such a resource to me in everything that I've been trying to do, and yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, and it's mutual, right? Like, you know, I don't do this just for the sake of being super nice to you or something or whatever.
No,
Like
no.
it's beneficial to me too. It's our relationship and what you bring to the table, some of the technical stuff that I'm not as deep on the preparedness stuff as you are.
Sure.
I'm more on the food production, health, and
Yeah. Well,
that kind of side.
the
So
actually living this life out.
mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, which, admittedly, sometimes people who tend more towards your realm, I think, forget the day to day. It
Yeah.
becomes, it can be oftentimes towards the doomsday prepper.
Yeah. Where they
Whereas people,
hoarding instead of living.
yeah. Um, or, in my realm, sometimes it can err towards like, I don't know, fairies in the woods and trying to,
Right.
I don't know, whatever. But where it's more about like, how do I do everything naturally and carefully and
Mm,
kind of miss out on the fact that, well, is that actually truly sustainable long term
sure. Sure.
or in a crisis?
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That there's definitely assets to both sides of the equation because we still do live in this world where, yeah, it'd be great if we could all live like totally off grid and have our own farms. Be awesome, but we don't. So like how do we survive now and what do we do in the event of some kind of a horrific event? So no, we definitely bring different things to the table, but both important things.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, neighborhood resource mapping. So that one was more ethereal of, you know, um, wherever you live, there's going to be certain natural resources and people resources, and being cognizant of, and maybe even mapping it out, like physically taking a map and like, oh, this is Fred's house. Fred knows this or has this, or
Yeah.
oh, this is, where we have fresh water. Maybe there's a spring, like, oh, this is where, so and so they've got their old um basement where we can store stuff and it's cold and
Yeah.
dark.
Fred has tractor.
Yeah,
Tim
right?
has storm shelter, whatever it
Exactly.
is.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, like, gosh, I've got my basement, not everybody around here has a basement, so I've,
Mhm.
kinda opened it up like, "Hey, we've got some pretty bad storms coming. You're all welcome to join. It's, it's not nice, there's but it's here."
Yeah.
Um,
No, we've got the same thing. Our neighbor down the road has a basement and most people don't. And she's like, if I'm not at home and I'm at work and the
sure,
kids and wife and
go.
kids are there's a tornado coming, they're welcome to just go over and go in the basement.
That's awesome.
So yeah, or it's nighttime or whatever. It's always available. So yeah, that resource mapping is cool. And your idea of having a radio on a certain frequency
Yeah,
where the whole neighborhood has it,
right?
if you can queue up and go, hey, who's got a generator?
Whatever. Yeah,
Who's got some extra gasoline or who's got
yeah,
something, and then it's in that way you've kind of pre-mapped because you're now going, who's got it, and everybody hears the message, and they might go, yeah, we've got some extra whatever, fill in the
sure.
blank for the day.
Yeah, or, or they just key up like, "Hey, what else do you need?"
Mhm.
Um, "Oh, yeah, well, we could also use a" yeah. Yeah, I've got, an army guy, he just moved in across the street, and he came by, got some radios, and I was doing some radio testing, last week, and I keyed off, and I get, radio comm back from him, I was like, "I hear you
Cool.
5 by 5." I was like, "Oh, sweet, dude." Like, I wasn't expecting you to actually be listening. That's because it was just a sunny day. It wasn't like it was a bad day or anything.
Right. No, that's good. That's great to know somebody's actually got it on and listening, right?
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I like whenever anything happens, I flip it to the Van Buren channel, I throw it in my window, and I just walk away. I just leave it there.
Mhm.
If somebody keys off, because I always make them set them to chirp so that I may not hear the radio, I may not hear their voice, but I'll hear the toot toot at the
Mhm.
end. I was like, "Oh, somebody talked," and I'll go and grab it like, "Hey, I missed that," repeat. So, yeah. So, yeah, neighborhood resource mapping, mutual aid, leadership in crisis, which kinda goes back to decision making under stress. Um, and finding those people,
Mhm.
that are skilled in a bad situation that you can lean on. So, of your little community, of your mag, of your church group, of your whatever group you've accumulated of friends, finding those individuals who will be able to be leaders, in those events is really important because, you don't want to have too many chefs in the kitchen, but you also don't wanna have nobody making decisions, because
Yeah.
no decision is a decision, and it's not usually a good one.
Right.
So yeah, finding and identifying leadership in a crisis, um, teaching kids preparedness. And this is one of those ones where it's just I think it's just fun, because we get to go out and play in the woods
Mhm.
and, play cowboy and Indians, as we used to or whatever. I guess that's not politically correct anymore, but whatever. Um, we're camping, right? We're having a freeze dried meal. We're setting up our shelter. We're starting a fire. Um, just hanging out with your kid, um,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
they
there's a lot of
learn.
fun to be had in it.
Yeah, they learn great skills and resourcefulness and thinking outside the box, that most kids aren't going to get.
Yep. A question I like to ask my kids is something along the lines of, they bring a problem and it's, "Okay, so give me 3 potential solutions." They don't have
Ooh,
to be good solutions, just
yeah,
give me 3 potential solutions.
yeah,
And they'll one of them might be somewhat viable, and it's like, "Okay, let's look at this solution. Is there another way we could look at that? Is there another way we could, you know,
sure,
approach that?" And just try to ask questions to get them to find an answer for themselves.
sure. Yeah, why does that work? Okay, well, what other things could do that same thing? Yeah, mhm,
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, when we were learning, this is just a really fun thing we did was we were doing mechanical advantage, like various versions of that each
sure,
week. And so along with that, it'd be like, with a lever, why were you able to lift me? Why was your weight able to lift my weight?
yeah,
I'm clearly much heavier than you.
right,
Um, and, you know, get to hear the answers. Okay, well, that one sounds like a reasonable thing, but the other one, are you sure about that?
yeah, right.
Or do you want to think more about that? And
Or we can
um,
test it, and we can
yeah, or
prove
we
whether that's yeah true or not.
yep, exactly. But yeah, that's teaching kids getting that brain working on these things early is going to change how they view and how they approach something when they're a bit older too.
Yes, yes, yeah. It's never going to come back negatively. I don't think.
Yep.
And we kind of already talked about faith-based and civic group roles. Um, there's a lot of them. I mean, um, yeah, American Legion. We respond to crises. VFWs will, Boy Scouts will. If you're not already involved in some, that you can. There's volunteer firefighting departments and EMS and a nice thing with a lot of those is there's a lot of training that comes
Mhm.
with it, and so you get trained on radio communication, you get trained on stop the bleed and trauma response and all of this stuff. There's which is great because then with the training's experience and the experience, is kind of
Yep.
the crux of all this.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of great, like not actual like good non-governmental organizations, like
Right.
I don't know, like a Grindstone Ministries that
Yeah.
actually goes to these these regions and gets boots on the ground in places way before any governmental agency shows up.
Yeah.
As much as I hate most NGOs, but there's a handful of good ones out there like that that you can work with. And like you said, they're going to require a certain level of training to be able to go with on.
Yeah, because you need to be a resource, not a liability.
Yep.
So yeah, that is it. Preparedness mindset, philosophy. Yeah, prepared, not paranoid. And that's really kind of the all this like you don't get prepared out of fear. It's because you want to be a resource. Not
Mhm.
it's not because I'm scared. It's because I want to be helpful to the people around me. I want
Yeah.
to be helpful to my family. I'm not scared of any of this stuff. I mean, ultimately, if when I die, yay, I know where I'm going. I'm perfectly fine with that. But until then, I have work to do.
Mhm. Yeah, and I talk to not everybody, but a decent number of people who I talk to will ask me like, "How how do you manage to function when you think that that things can go that bad?" Or, when you I believe a large number of conspiracies, probably not the way that people necessarily think of them, but,
Yeah.
um, and I'll get this, like, "If you think the world's that dark, how do you function?" It's like, just kind of is what it is,
It's always been.
and yeah, it's always been a dark place, and the convenience and the shelter that we have from that, the reality of what it actually is, um, it's fake. And so being aware of what it really is, the files that dropped a month or 2 ago, nothing surprised me. I
Nope.
I knew all that was all happening already, and I had a lot of people who were like, "Isn't that shocking? What's the world
No.
coming to?" And I'm like,
Same thing
"I
it's always done.
we should be upset about this, but
Absolutely.
there's nothing new here. We all
Not
knew this
surprised by
already if
it.
you cared."
Upset by it, but
Yeah,
not surprised.
right. Well, not surprised in that, like, most of the
How
things
could
that are
it?
coming out,
Yeah.
anybody who had a modicum of
Already
sense
knew.
and willing to look already knew. And so but I think there was such a willingness to go, "I don't wanna see, I don't wanna think about this." And that just my point being, it gets back to being prepared but not paranoid, not being scared, not being overwhelmed by things, but
Yeah.
being realistic about what the world actually is, being a realist.
Yeah. Yeah. That the world is not perfect. It will not be perfect, but we can do our best within that imperfect world to
Yeah.
be a resource to our families and to our little, circle of influence.
Yeah. Well, and a small amount of preparedness for the most likely situations that you'll be in, given
Yeah.
your region, given your not only geography but your personal experience, all that. A very small amount of time thinking about and planning and getting a few things in hand
Mhm.
is going to make the
Huge.
situation, 90% better
Oh, yeah. Oh,
in
yeah.
most cases.
Yeah, it's well beyond the 80-20 rule. It really
Mhm.
is. If you're
Yep.
if you're just cognizant and thought much about it at all, prepared just a little bit, world better.
Mhm.
Yep. Um, yeah, and we really did a lot on scalability of preparedness and stacking systems and from everyday carry or EDC all the way up through, your home, learning from real disasters. There's a lot of them to glean a lot of very useful information as far as what went wrong, whether it's no communication or water filtration or whatever. I mean, and look at your own area. I mean, like I'm not going to prepare for hurricanes directly. I mean, we have wind damage and we have tornadoes, but not the same. We don't have the ocean rising up and coming in. washing our
Yeah,
house away.
tsunami probably isn't if there's a
Exactly.
tsunami that gets you, you're not getting out of that one.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no kidding. Well, and that's what I see a lot in the preparedness the prepper community. I'll separate that from the preparedness community. Is this these ideas of like I'm prepared for an asteroid to hit the earth and open up a chamber that has dinosaurs in it. Something stupid like where it's just
Yeah,
so unbelievably specific. So you've got, large caliber guns to be able to drop T-Rex or,
right. The South Pole aliens that are living in
what?
Hollow Earth are.
Like,
Yep,
what's more likely? We're gonna have a snowstorm. We're gonna lose power. That's what's likely. Let's
right.
let's focus.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and you'd mentioned the 80 to 20 principle. If people want to look at that up, it's called the Pareto principle, and
Yep.
it's extremely useful in planning because the
Yeah.
idea
Yeah. All
is,
aspects.
with 20% of the work, you can get 80% of the way there.
Hmm.
I mean, that's a oversimplification, but
Oh, very, but effectively,
it's that,
yes.
yeah, it's the idea that, with a very small amount of initial input, you can get a long ways beyond where, and then that you have, what do they call it? Um, Basically diminishing returns
Yeah, the
as
inversion
you
of that
get further.
is, yeah, where the additional 80% of effort only results in 20% yield.
Right.
Yeah, it does. You can spend a fortune of, money and time trying to just eke out that last couple percent. I think a good example of that would be like, motorcycle racing, like where they'll spend inordinate amount of money replacing every nut and bolt in the entire bike with, tung or not tungsten, like titanium or whatever to
Mhm.
save ounces. The irony is the guy who's riding it just ate a double cheeseburger for lunch and
Right.
put on more weight than they lost with the titanium. Just
Right.
saying. So you know, go with the simple things. Fix the simple things if you can. Say, do something in your homestead that saves you 5 minutes a day because that's going to add up. Do something that makes you not need as much water or power because that's going to add up. Doing the simple things is always going to be way way better and more effective long run.
Right.
Um, yeah. Learning from real disasters, minimalism over preparing. We did that one with the backpacks. Yeah, minimalism is it can go too far. I mean, I know a lot of guys who will do like some of the long haul backpacking, and they'll go in with like a thimble of equipment. I'm like, bro, like,
Yeah.
might
It's
want a
maybe
little bit
not
more.
bad to practice on
It
that,
isn't. It is not bad, but
but
there's like it can be taken to an unhealthy
right.
extreme, just like over preparing this. And
Mhm.
yeah. Um, ethical preparing is. So this was actually something because I your perspective on preparing this as far as your farm and what you grow and the ethics behind it was actually I actually wanted more for you is the ethics behind the preparedness mindset. I wanted more of your mindset on this one.
Sure. So Bill Mollison, he's the co-founder of permaculture, said
Yeah.
something to the extent of he talks about ethics and permaculture and how important they are, and that basically our highest moral ethic is to provide for our needs and those of our family.
Mhm.
Obviously, as Christians, we might prioritize things a little differently, but um, it's still a true principle in that if I'm taking care of my family, then nobody else has to take care of my family. If
Yeah.
I don't take care of my family, then somebody else does, and that's ethically immoral. It's wrong. It's one thing if we fall on hard times
Yep.
and can't prevent it, right?
But relying upon others to take care of what we are capable of taking care of in the first
E
place.
exactly, and it's my moral duty as a husband, as a father, to take care of my family and to provide in a way that they have consistent provisions. And so there's this ethical framework in that. The other side of it is, I kinda go over this in my class specifically on kinda introing to permaculture, is that there's the concepts of the design principles within permaculture are so powerful that you need to put ethics around them, or you could end up doing like the principles are the same principles that, like the people who rule the world, the people you don't know their names, not
Right.
Elon Musk, not
No, no,
Bill
no.
Gates. It's the people who are don't want you to know who they are, who actually pull all the
We'll make sure
strings.
that you don't know who they are.
Yeah. Those people are using what are essentially permaculture principles minus the ethics,
Yeah. Right.
right? Function stacking. You look at Standard Oil and how they basically they took over the medical industry,
Yeah.
and because they wanted to use the byproducts of their oil for medical purposes, for
Yeah.
medication, and made it
And the food
illegal to
industry.
yeah, made it illegal to say anything other than those medications can cure. And that's function stacking, right? That's the integrate rather than segregate of David
Right.
Holmgren's 12 principles. And you can look at that they've stacked that in about 10 different ways if you want to tease it apart.
Sure.
And so yeah, the ethics and preparedness are vital, and thinking about how important it is to be ethical in what we're doing, and that it's actually a ethical mandate, I believe, for us to make sure that our families' needs are cared for, and to have some amount of ability and willingness to then once their needs are cared for to
Go out
do
into the
that to the
community.
greater community.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed. Absolutely. And so that leads us or into the last one, which is long-term resilience versus short-term survival. And that is kind of what I, I don't want to say I rage against it, but I do. I can be a little vociferous on it on sometimes the the prepper community and their stockpiling. I'm like,
Mhm.
no, we're about being resilient, and that's where my business came from. The term is I thought about it, and I realized that it's an unusual name for what it is I sell.
Mhm.
But I thought it worked really well because the idea is we're building in resilience into ourselves and then resulting in a resilient community, in a resilient, you know, state, in a resilient nation. Because the more resilient I am as a person, talking about you're taking care of your family first, and then as you can, your community. That's what we're called to. And I think as a
Mhm.
Christians, especially, we are absolutely called to taking care of our family and then taking care of those around us as we can, as we're,
Mhm.
provided the opportunity to. And that's my goal is long-term resilience, not short-term survival. If I have stockpiled a whole bunch of food, as soon as it runs out, I'm dead.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you're creating essentially a human web
Yeah.
in a way,
Right.
right? By encouraging somebody else, by preparing, giving somebody else the tools they need to be properly prepared, by teaching, by whatever it is that you're doing, it spreads this and makes it more viable for other people. And that becomes a spider web where if, one leg of it gets cut, the thing's still there,
Yeah.
right? It might not be quite as strong or catch
Nope.
quite as many bugs or whatever it's supposed to do, but it's still there and it's still viable.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that the ethic of doing that is important, and it's beneficial to everybody, not just beneficial to one.
Yes.
And
Yes.
my the only client I've ever had to fire, just
Oh,
terrible, awful person. I won't name names, but she was obsessed with a like $30,000 worth of seed bank that she had bought
oh
and
no.
keeping those preserved. And I'm like, "Uh, do you know what any of how?" She's like, "Oh yeah, I'll just plant, beans and corn." And I'm like, you don't just plant. Your soil isn't ready.
Right.
You have no cognitive awareness of how to do this. In your situation, I guess the way you do that is with a rototiller. You don't have a rototiller. Like you don't just go throw seeds on the ground and pray they come up and not
Sure.
know,
That's the
and like some of the
expectation though, right?
Yeah, some of the stuff doesn't even grow here in Tennessee, and she had
Right.
$30,000 worth of it,
Oh,
um,
no.
and, spending another $20,000 on solar and refrigerators and things to keep it safe became the
Right.
priority rather than, "W why don't you learn how to do it and just start doing it and save seeds every year?"
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, that long term over short term is a really good thing to wrap your mind around.
Mhm. Well, and it's just transitioning from my world more into to your world. We would be much, much better off if there were more people in your world than in mine.
Yeah,
Because your side of the equation is the like actually doing stuff and like and growing the plants and preserving the food and living the life resiliently. Um, and so yeah, no, it's the more we can transition people that direction. And honestly, like I almost feel like I'm trying to work myself out of a job sometimes because I want
yeah,
people to be prepared. Once they're prepared, they're prepared. And
right.
like, well, now what am I going to do? But there's
Yeah,
enough people. Well, there'll always be somebody that needs help. That's fine.
yeah, there's always going to be, and you're always gonna find a greater and greater niche, like a further,
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
person's, they're 60% of the way there. Let's get them 80.
Yeah, heck yeah,
What's the next thing that, you should be doing to, it might be comms, it might be whatever, and they
sure.
may have everything else already. But yeah, I'm in the same boat. My hope is that every single person I'm working with just absorbs everything
Everything. Yeah.
I'm trying to teach, I'm trying
Yep.
to do, and then exceeds me in what I can do
Yeah.
and does it on their own. I mean, I've got great clients who have like experimented to do really cool things, like Rick Julian, who we had on,
Yeah.
who's doing who does turmeric that I never would have thought of growing
Right.
large amounts of turmeric over the winter in Tennessee, but he does
Oh,
it. So, or overwintering it, I should say. But
yeah.
yeah,
Right.
I mean, that's what I want too, is I want people who just they find their niche and they blow what I can do out of the water, and I'm out of a job, I don't care.
Yeah. Right.
Now I've got a great connection with somebody who does amazing things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Well, it's like our kids. I want to see my kids succeed. Stand on my shoulders and do
Mhm.
something I'd never even would have considered.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Well,
All right.
I think we have
I
we
think so.
have gotten there, if you agree.
I do.
Um, do you wanna tell people what you do and how they can find you?
I do. Let's see if I can't be all clever and show. Ha! I did. Okay. So I'm Jared Wilson. I own Resilient Living. Resilient Living is a small shop on the side of 111 between Sparta and Spencer. I've got a lot of the stuff you see on the table behind me: medical kits, freeze dried foods, emergency preparedness equipment. Um, Now I've got my firearms license, so I'm working on getting some actual inventory. It'll come. Give it a couple weeks. I've got ammunition for the time being, knives, whatever. We do teach classes, so you can follow us on Facebook, on YouTube, on TikTok. I don't put a lot out except for on Facebook, I guess. I hate Facebook, but it's like the best way to get in front of people right now, at least in this area. So that's kind of where everything's going. But yeah, come by the shop. You can check us out at www.resilientliving.com, and we can get you squared away with whatever it is you need. I've gotten that's kind of become my niche, is just finding solutions to problems that people have. I guess I don't
Yeah.
know, finding equipment that fixes the problem. I don't know.
No, you've actually got, I think that is your niche, is you can research like crazy and you have ideas for what will work, and you know what doesn't work. And so you can avoid some of those big mistakes. And so
From experience.
yeah, yeah, both of us. Um, but yeah, I think that's a great way to explain it, is you can help people figure out solutions for a problem that they didn't know they was an option.
Yep, yep.
Can you tell people about where they can find the actual podcast if they don't want to
Oh,
watch us on YouTube, or they just want to listen while
I've
they're
got it on
driving or something?
Spotify. I've got to build the RSS feed to send that over to iTunes and other ones, but right now it's on Spotify. So if you check out Resilient Living on Spotify, you should see my little green trees symbol. That's us.
And is it with the G or no G?
No G. Yes, correct.
Good.
Is living, not living, because
Yep.
everything else ended up living. So I just rolled with it.
I like that because the resilient living on podcasts, there's
Yeah,
like
a
30
billion of
of
them.
them.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah,
right?
it's ridiculous.
And they're
It's like,
a lot of them are like mental health things, and
mhm,
I'm like, that's not me. But
right.
yeah, anyway.
Yeah,
So
so look up resilient living
yep,
on Spotify for now, and we'll get it to the other ones soon.
yep. And so we're I think I'm up through episode 10 or 11 now, I think on Spotify. So
Cool.
I'm putting out one a week. Um just the old ones.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be great because most of what we're talking about, people can absorb just audio, and they
Yeah.
could be out
Oh yeah.
doing their garden or driving their
Exactly.
car or whatever and listening to our wonderful voices.
Let's just rambling on.
All right. So my name is Ryan Steva. I am the homestead consultant, homesteadconsultant.com. And I have a YouTube channel with a whole bunch of DIY how to type stuff for homesteading, solar, water catchment, whatever you're into. I've probably got something kind of related to it. Um, I did want to mention that I'm planning on doing a swales class.
Ooh,
I'm looking at April 11th out in Hartsville, Tennessee.
nice.
Current plan is to charge $50 a seat. And what I'm going to say is next time I do this, it's probably going to be more because this is the first time around and I'm just kind of experimenting with how we run the class. And so if you want a deal on a mini swales class, the whole idea is how to use swales in small earthworks on your property for orchards and other planting systems and for moving and storing and spreading water on your own property. We'll go over planting and how to find contour, what contour is, all that stuff. So it's going to be a pretty cool in-depth class. And if people are interested, keep an eye on my Facebook or, um, reach out to me specifically and I'll let you know when I get an official announcement out there.
Nice. That'd be
Yeah.
cool. Alrighty. Well, that is all I have. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you everybody for
All right.
being here and we'll catch you next Tuesday, hopefully.
Yeah. Alrighty.
All right.
Have a good one.